When Israel was attacked during Yom Kippur 50 years and a few days ago, they were surrounded, they were caught off guard, they were losing territory. They quickly reorganized, pushed back on every front. They took the Golan Heights. They took the Sinai Peninsula. They moved east into Jordan. Back then, the man who ran Iran was a dictator. But he was our ally, the Shah of Iran. He actually helped Israel. But we couldn't have a dictator in the Middle East, under Jimmy Carter. The Shah of Iran was pressured to let the Ayatollah Khomeini to return from his five-star hotel in Europe. And he returned. He overthrew the Shah. They took over the country. They slaughtered tens of thousands of Iranians. And they took our embassy staff hostage. That's what Carter unleashed in the Middle East, among other things. Before Reagan was sworn in as President of the United States, the Islamo-Nazi regime in Tehran released the American hostages as fast as they could, because they knew Reagan would bomb them to smithereens. Ultimately, the Israelis entered into various quote-unquote peace deals. The Sinai Peninsula was given back to the Egyptians. But during that battle, the Israeli army was 50 miles from Cairo. They'd crossed the Sinai Peninsula. There was nothing to stop them. Then Brezhnev, the old Brezhnev of the old Soviet Union, contacts Nixon, because Egypt was a client state of the Soviet Union. And he says, we're going in. This has to stop. Nixon said, no, you're not going in, or we're going in. Over the years, I've talked to people who were involved in that, and they said that their bombers, literally, several of their bombers, based in Germany, took conventional bombs and replaced them with some nuclear bombs. This nation was put on a full nuclear alert. Israel, which could have literally conquered Egypt and destroyed Cairo, pulled back. The Soviet Union pulled back, and we pulled back. In the meantime, when that war broke off, Nixon calls in Kissinger 24 hours, less than 24 hours after they're under attack, and he says to Kissinger, what do the Israelis need? He tells them what the Israelis need, and Nixon says, double it. As fast as you can. I heard Biden speak today, give a very patriotic speech. He didn't fool me. with a carrier group in the Mediterranean, perhaps a second one. And I kept listening. Okay. What else? We're going to replace their munitions with whatever they want. Okay. What else? Nothing. Now, ladies and gentlemen, can I tell you a little secret? Iran is using Hamas. That's the Muslim Brotherhood. They're not even the same Muslims as the Muslims in Iran. Hamas is using its own people. Why? Because they're Nazis. They don't care. Joe Biden created this situation. Oh, he didn't create terrorism per se. He didn't create Hamas per se. He didn't even create the Islamo-Nazi regime in Iran per se. He didn't create Hezbollah per se. But they were all in their cages, like animals. In the prior administration in this country, Donald Trump's administration, who they're trying to put in prison as I speak. Trying to put him in prison as I speak. Because Trump showed strength. He took out Soleimani, who's responsible for all the deaths and casualties of Americans in Iraq. He took out Baghdadi, the head of ISIS. He drew a real red line in Syria, and the Russians had to respect it. Obama drew a red line, and they couldn't pass it over and over and over again fast enough. Talk is cheap. Even stupid talk. Even incoherent talk. Biden rebuilt Iran's military. Biden put tens of billions of dollars into their bank accounts. I don't care that MSNBC has become the propagandists for the Nazis on the one hand, and the Neville Chamberlain of the Biden administration on the other hand. Look at their lineup. Look at their lineup. CNN, pretty much the same thing. Pretty much the same thing. I heard Mark Warner, the chairman, the Democrat, Virginia, of the Senate Intelligence Committee, and Neil Cavuto was doing a pretty good job letting him have it. I was proud of Neil. Sometimes he and I certainly don't agree, but he was pressing right there. All they can keep doing is saying the $6 billion is not available to Iran. You gave $6 billion to Iran. I don't care in what form or where it sits. When they were plotting to assassinate Mike Pompeo? When they're building nuclear weapons? Why are you giving them anything? You should be crushing their economy. But, as I keep saying, and as I'm the one who started to say, okay, great, put aside the $6 billion. What about the $70 billion? What about it, boys? What about it, Joe Scarborough? Are you the biggest punk of a whole host of punks over there at MSNBC? You are a disgrace, particularly at a time like this. Your head's so far up Biden's ass, it's coming out of his right nostril. So now, after that tough speech that we will back Israel, period. Here in Politico, U.S. calls for proportionate Israeli response while not openly setting red lines. We support Israel taking necessary and proportionate action to defend its country and protect its people, said National Security spokesidiot Adrian Watson. What the hell does that mean? We were in Afghanistan for 21 years. Was that a proportionate response? The Biden administration created this situation to begin with. They betrayed the people of Israel as they have the people of the United States. And they have suffered mightily. And we've seen it. And it's not some sick, grotesque movie. It happened and it's happening. So my wife Julie says, what does proportionate response mean? So the Israelis should behead babies? Rape women? Grab grandmothers and grandfathers and drag them over the border? Threaten to execute them? Is that what they mean at the White House by a proportionate response? Because that's a proportionate response. I want to tell you something. We're going to have a guest on the program at the bottom of the hour. And this gentleman is really with a very small group. A very small group. And he sees all the protests taking place in this country, the Students for Justice in Palestine. Every media outlet has reported what they have said and what they're doing, every one of them. At MSNBC, the Hamas wing of MSNBC is very supportive of them. The Hamas wing, the Nazi wing, I should say, of the Democrat Party, protesting with them. Well, who are they? Who are they? I decided to take a look today. The hell is this group? Sounds like they're running a bunch of Confucius Institutes in America. Here's what they found. The Students for Justice in Palestine Network serves as the leading student arm of the BDS, Boycott, Divestment, Sanctions movement in the United States. They are not, as they claim, a grassroots student organization. It is a terror-affiliated anti-Semitic network that currently operates with autonomy and impunity at colleges and universities across the United States. It has adopted a policy of, quote, anti-normalization, unquote, of relations with Zionist groups and most Jewish organizations, with the exception of the equally radical anti-Zionist and pro-BDS Jewish Voice for America. And by the way, a footnote. Mr. Ramaswamy, remember when you said Israel needs to stand on its own 2 feet? And the various cultures need to assimilate? Remember that, Mr. Producer? And he called me that weekend and he said, what is the issue here? I said, you don't understand the Middle East. It's impossible for the cultures to assimilate. And then he went off and said it again. Students for Justice in Palestine advances their proprietary view of Palestinian justice by undertaking initiatives to isolate, demonize, and ultimately destroy the state of Israel. Many students and university administrations have treated them as a pro-Palestinian equivalent to the pro-Israel student groups such as Stand With Us, the Israel on Campus Coalition, or Hillel. However, as this monograph documents, obviously I can't show it to you on radio, it is an extremist organization that maintains affiliations with Arab and Islamic terror groups, is overtly anti-Semitic, incites hatred and violence against Jewish students, and rejects the existence of the state of Israel in any borders. Right here on our college campuses, like Harvard. You see the statement the University of Virginia, Students for Palestine, Justice in Palestine put out? It could have come from Hamas. For all I know, it did. It's been linked to terror groups and so forth and so on.